No one's even attempted to rebut it. 95% or whatever the number is, if members of Congress take AIPAC money, how is that good? Shut up, Nazi! So if that's your only defense, you've lost. You've lost. So that's like a big, big change. Like the veil is dropped. I don't care what you call yourself. If you're for censorship and identity politics, I'm not voting for you.
The Israel first argument is dead. The veil's dropped and Americans have taken notice. That's what Tucker Carlson's argument here is to Sean Ryan in this interview. And in this clip, he explores why this issue, the Israel issue, is at the heart of the MAGA civil war playing out on the right, and how it's actually the catalyst driving censorship and identity politics on the right from some of the same people that derided and rebuked the liberal establishment for using the exact same tactics. So let's get right into it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
No, but what's interesting is not that they've like really inconvenienced me. They haven't. It's that they've revealed who they are. So like, they did this with Fuentes. This is the thing I learned, is that Fuentes, I didn't know much about him, to be honest. I'm just too old for this shit. It's not my generation, so I just didn't know. But Nick Fuentes first became known freshman year of college, like first month of college. He's a student at BU, and he put something on the internet, Twitter or something, and basically like, why does Israel control our Congress? Something like that. He's a college freshman. And Ben Shapiro, sitting at like command center somewhere, is like, what? A college student who's not on board with the program? Destroy him. And Ben Shapiro tries to, quote, cancel this kid. He's a fucking college student. He's a freshman from Chicago. Rather than just call the guy and be like, hey, actually, I saw what you said. I don't like it. But there are reasons that we're allied with Israel and like it really helps us. Or whatever, make your case whatever your case is. His first instinct was, this man must be destroyed. He can never have a job in Con Inc. No one can hire him. And how'd that work for you, Ben Shapiro? Well, of course, it didn't work at all. Nick Fuentes is way bigger than Ben Shapiro has ever been, way more influential than Ben Shapiro has ever been. You can't cancel an idea. It just does not work. Let's kill Jesus. Okay, how'd that work? World's biggest religion. It just doesn't work.
That's the ultimate irony about this whole thing, right? And I've said this in the past. It's like, if your view is that Nick Fuentes is a monster, he's literally the monster that Zionists like Ben Shapiro made. Like, he's Frankenstein's monster. If that's the case, you made him that way by doing these things and responding in such a way that you never tackle the arguments. You just demonize these people, and that fires them up. That drives their fervor. That commits them to talking about these issues. So a lot of the neocons and Zionists have no one to blame but themselves. This is a Streisand effect. It's talking about someone in a way where, even though you want to undermine them, you want to defeat them, not by tackling their arguments, by the way, by cancel culture, the things that you condemn the liberal establishment for doing. You make them into this demon and focus on them so much that people that otherwise wouldn't have listened to Fuentes' ideas have listened to them. And Tucker's right. There's not really a concerted strategy to argue on the merits of the Israel first mentality, aid to Israel, supporting them in this genocide, which I guess their argument is you're just anti-Semitic and it's not a genocide. But at the level that you're parsing whether or not it's a genocide and there's a fine line there, you've already lost the argument. And that's what Americans have noticed.
And any wise person knows that. So the only way, liberals used to say this, they don't believe it apparently anymore, but the only way to stop bad ideas is by countering them with good ideas. You want to defeat lies, tell the truth. It's literally that simple. And as if I needed to be reminded of that, the last month, I don't think a single person has ever made the case that I'm wrong, that Nick Fuentes is wrong. The Jew hatred stuff is wrong, period. And I said that. The white hatred, black hatred, Jew hatred, Malaysian hatred, Bedouin hatred, it's all wrong. I believe that as much as I believe anything. Okay. But the rest of it, his analysis, which is actually smart and in a lot of cases true, no one's even attempted to rebut it. 95% or whatever the number is, if members of Congress take AIPAC money, how is that good? Shut up, Nazi! So if that's your only defense, you've lost. You've lost.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They have lost. And he's exactly right. It's not like Ben Shapiro and Ted Cruz and Randy Fine, the people that prioritize this issue above all others, even try to debate the issues related to this on their merits. They don't take on their critics in argumentation. They just try to smear these people. Now, as to whether Nick truly hates Jews, I don't agree with that. I talked about that in the last video that I responded to from this interview, so I won't say that much about that here. But he's on the record saying he doesn't hate Jews as a totality. He doesn't hate Jews in the aggregate. He doesn't believe in violence toward Jews. And he certainly doesn't believe that all Jews are the problem. He just interviewed with Glenn Greenwald and Dave Smith. They had some pushback, but they had a pretty cordial conversation. So anyways, yeah, Tucker's right. They don't tackle the arguments, and that's the product of Americans moving away from them. That's, only inspiring more Americans to leave this pro-Israel reservation where you just have to toe the line and prioritize this foreign nation over your own issues in America. It's perverted, it's toxic, and more Americans realize it's perverted and toxic now.
You didn't even enter the game. We're playing different games. I'm trying to tell the truth, convince people that what I think is true is actually true. And you're trying to make me be quiet because you don't like it? You can shoot me or you can shoot everybody, but it doesn't go away because the truth is an immovable object. It just exists and you conform to it or you don't, but it doesn't change because it's nature.
Why do you think you got so much shit for having him on? He's been on other stuff. He's been on...
Well, I got shit precisely because I'm not an anti-Semite. That was the whole point. I mean, if David Duke or whatever, pick an I don't even know there are many, I'm sure there are famous anti-Semites, I can't think of one, but David Duke is a famous anti-Semite. If David Duke interviewed Nick Fuentes, they'd be like, oh, they wouldn't say anything, whatever, who cares? They're talking to each other. But if someone who is openly opposed and sincerely opposed to hating people on the basis of their bloodline, which I definitely am, interviews Nick Fuentes and is like, hey, Nick Fuentes, stop with the Jew hatred, but let's talk about your views on the betrayal of Republican voters by conservative institutions and the undue influence a foreign country has over our government. Those are entirely reasonable conversations, and they're scary because they are reasonable. They're very difficult to refute. You have to, what's the counter argument? The country should be controlled by a country of 9 million people? Like, what are you even saying? No one agrees with that. So if a reasonable person says it, that is an actual threat. And they were like, well, must destroy him and his son and his brother. And it's like, I'm not afraid of you, man. I'm just...
Amen. And I think Tucker's onto something here. They want cancellation inception. So anyone that's critical of Israel, they'll try to ruin. And anti-Semitism or their accusations of anti-Semitism is just their bludgeon. It's just their vehicle for trying to do that. So anyone now who talks to Tucker Carlson is now implicated in this crime of being platformed because Tucker Carlson platformed Nick Fuentes. And soon whoever talks to Tucker Carlson will be implicated by association, on and on and on, if they're critics of Israel. And don't get me wrong, Zionists actually love anti-Semitism. It sounds weird on face value, but this is something that Max Blumenthal constantly brings up, is they use this as their primary tool to ruin the lives of people that are critical of Israel. They just attribute it all to anti-Semitism. It actually worked a lot to ruin people, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago to some extent. Pat Buchanan, his political career was quasi-ruined and his commentary career was quasi-ruined because he said that Capitol Hill was Zionist-occupied territory. And if anything, that's an understatement. I think that's just true, and that's just based, and more Americans now realize that is true.
It's not. And not because I'm so tough or brave or whatever, but because... why would I be? You call me names and I'm gonna, you're not telling the truth and you're not. You start saying things about me that are true, that I'm trying to hide, whatever those might be. I'll get in fetal position and hide in the corner. But you throw lies at me? I'm totally unintimidated. And anyone who believes that, I'm sorry. I'll just say it again. Here's the truth. Don't believe I can't control that. So yeah, that's why they don't like me. Not because I'm extraordinarily brave. I'm not. Definitely not because I'm extraordinarily smart. I'm not. But because they don't have an actual argument. So all they can do is destroy. And I think they've reached kind of the limit. Like, what's the next stage? That does concern me.
Yeah, it concerns me too, because frankly, the cynic in me says the next stage is they want to encourage violence toward Jewish people. Like, literally, that's what the Zionists want, because then they can spin that narrative into being, see, this is attributable to all critics of Israel. Look at what you've done. And actually push that to further their own goals, to prolong the Israel first mentality long beyond the American people being acceptive of that. And that's what you're seeing here. And I think just Tucker's completely right. First of all, he showed humility in that last segment. But also, this is something that Americans are not taking anymore. You could ruin people's lives with this before, but now for the first time, a lot of Americans are just standing up and having nothing of it. They see that for what it is when you're just called anti-Semitic for, basic, legitimate, reasonable criticisms of Israel. We're having enough of it. Just like when people shouted down racist, sexist, homophobe, transphobe. Those words eventually lost meaning, or at least lost potential, power in their application because there was such misapplication of those terms, just like anti-Semitism now.
Not that much, really. But we're moving into a new time for sure. Now, after the last month, and there are a number of fairly influential people on the right who've just basically said out loud, I'm for censorship and identity politics. We just had an election a year ago this month in which Republicans won because they were opposed to, let's say it, censorship and identity politics. And then their voters find out that a lot of the leaders of the party are totally for censorship and identity politics. How does this continue? Well, I'm out. I mean, I know that, but so are a lot of other people. Like, would never vote. I don't care what you call yourself. If you're for censorship and identity politics, two things that I truly, on principle as a Christian, oppose, I'm not voting for you. Period. Ever. So that's like a big, big change. Like, the veil is dropped. We can see, like, you're walking back from the shower and your towel slipped, and I saw what you look like naked. I can't unsee that. Right? Has that ever happened to you?
Mm-hmm.
You see what someone looks like naked and you're like, I want this out of my head. I don't want to know.
Yeah, metaphorically, it makes sense. This is the case, and we're not going back. It's just the case. And Tucker's right. This was what the liberal establishment tried to do as their electoral vehicle. They threw out Hillary Clinton, AOC, Tim Walz, John Kerry, and Kamala Harris, the presidential contender out there, to say, in a span of like 10 days between all 5 of those individuals, we need to police disinformation on the internet. They said it overtly. They said we need to expand the ability to police disinformation on the internet, i.e., more censorship is needed. And the liberal establishment has used identity politics forever. Class war, sex war, race war, shoving that down our throats. And now the Zionists have co-opted that and used the same thing, because what is identity politics if not the political direction of favoring an ethno-state in the Middle East with American tax money? There's no better demonstration of it than that. And having DEI programs, but only for American Jews, conflating anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism in the form of hate speech laws that are going to punish and target Americans for being critical of Israel. It's just abhorrent. It can't be accepted. And that is what's happening even on some places in the right. It is the actual woke right. This is the wokeness that's on the right, not the critics of Israel who are rightly critical of Israel and the pernicious U.S.-Israeli relationship.
I saw your appendix scar. It's like,
Oh, man.
right? So I don't know. I never know anything that's coming. You can't, it's always something different from what you thought. But as of right now, I think it's like November, probably. It's before Thanksgiving right now. I know for certain that we're in for big, 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 big changes, because just like fighting with your wife and you say something awful but true, things are never the same.
What is it about him that what is Gen Z, or what is the younger generation? I mean, what's the draw? What's the draw to?
Well, he's
Fuentes?
unusually articulate, self-confident, clear. He's a clear talker. I don't agree. I mean, he's 27, so, not to be arrogant or be like, young man, you don't know, but, hanging around a long time gives you, I think, a fuller perspective, and he hasn't. So, there are things I disagree with, conclusions he draws that I think are not true. But in general, the guy is highly articulate, totally fearless, doesn't care at all. That's always a draw. The man who just doesn't care, he's just going to say it, always has a big audience because people are attracted to strength.
Totally true. I think all the things he said were true. Nick is a unusually talented broadcaster. He's great at articulating his views, even though I disagree with some of those views. It's just undeniable. And no matter what you say about him, you can't take that away from him. And he is fearless. He says a lot of things people are afraid to say, and he does it regardless of what kind of punishments come his way. He's been debanked, he's been deplatformed, he's been taken off YouTube and Facebook and many other platforms. He only really has Rumble and X, and despite all those things, he's still more influential than a lot of other figures in the right. He's probably a top 3 influential figure on the right behind Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens at this point. And he attracts visibility from a very younger demographic compared to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. And all those things are true. You can disagree with all of his views and acknowledge that because that's just undeniable at this point.
Period. Every time. What's strength? It's fearlessness. I'm not afraid. And that's how the Vikings pick their leaders. Who's the least afraid? Of course, human beings are like that. They'll never stop being like that. So only in our world are there other, do you put terrified menopausal women in charge? Normal studies don't do that. We're not going to do that in 20 years. But Nick Fuentes is just a reminder that people follow fearlessness because they read it as strength. We should not be surprised. Why are they open to it? Why are they not watching the approved? Why are they not watching Fox News and some Sean Hannity? What does Sean Hannity think? They don't know who Sean Hannity is. Why? Why are they open to this? Well, changing technology is one of the reasons. They don't watch TV. They don't have cable subs. But the main reason is because they've been completely betrayed. Nick Fuentes is absolutely right. They've been screwed. They can't find jobs. The average age of a first-time homebuyer in the United States is almost 40. 40 years old. It's a disaster. That's collapse, and they've been blamed for it, and people have been hating on them their whole lives for being white and being male. Toxic masculinity and white racism are the twin perils we face.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. When you say whiteness or white privilege, that's the only ethnic-based pejorative that's acceptable. Try doing that with any other pejorative and it's not socially acceptable, but a lot of these people have had that shoved them down their throats because of the culture war waged on them. And even if they don't have the right solution to a lot of these economic disasters, and I certainly don't think Nick Fuentes has that, that's probably my biggest, reservation with his mindset is actually a total difference in economic views. Is that they have identified the problem. The regime has sold them down the river with debt and inflation and regulation and the welfare state and prioritizing Israel and Ukraine, especially over the United States. That's all correct. Now, how you solve that, we can have those debates, but it is the case that elites have sold the Americans down the river in both parties. Both Obama and Trump did it. Biden did it, although he was a puppet of the deep state and those running his campaign. He certainly did that. Trump is to an extent too. Obviously, the deep state's pulling the strings in this administration in so many ways. But that's the truth. And that has appeal when you speak that truth that so many people are feeling, doing it in a courageous way and an articulate way.
That's passive aggression. That's hate posing as concern. If you tell white men that the biggest problems are toxic masculinity and white racism, what you're really saying is you're the biggest problem. Mm-hmm. We hate you. And everything our leaders have done has proven that they hate young white men. Everything. From the drugs they prescribe to the fake conditions like ADHD that they make up out of thin air in order to anesthetize boys. Everything about it is an organized conspiracy, conscious or not. It's effectively a conspiracy. I don't need to know whether you planned it to know it was a conspiracy. You did this and you achieved this result. That's all I need to know. And they did it. And young men know it. They know it. And why wouldn't they be mad? I'm mad just thinking about it. And I'm 50, I don't know how fucking old I am, 56. So I'm 30 years older than Nick Fuentes. And because I care about America and care about people in general and hate to see mistreatment and cruelty of the weak, I'm outraged by that. Just on principle, I hate that. It's exactly what I hate. Pissing on weak people. That's why I hated using fire hoses on protesters in Birmingham in 1956. And it's why I hate the toxic masculinity, white racism lie of 2021. It's all the same. And so I am sympathetic to that because it's true. It's provably true. And so my feeling was, I'm going to immediately say, I'm totally against Jew hatred. It's anti-Christian. And I said that. And he's like, you're right. Okay. Now tell me what you think. Again, my conscience is clear. I'm glad I did that interview.
I'm so glad Tucker is glad he did that interview, because so many people are saying, Tucker, you have to disavow this interview with Nick Fuentes. You have to say it was wrong. You have to reject everything Nick Fuentes and say you'll never do an interview of this type again. You can never have him on again. You can never have anyone Nick Fuentes adjacent on your program. And he's saying, no, I'm proud of doing that interview. And he is right about the identity politics, how it's manifested from the liberal establishment. And now you're seeing it from the conservatives. It was only going to happen. This was guaranteed. This is reactionary politics at its finest. It would be always, when I would look at those videos that they'd post on TikTok, it'd be usually social conservatives that get a kick out of this, exposing this, showing how absurd it is. And it is absurd. They'd post these pictures of, attempts to trans children and expose children to, absurd things that you would never want children to be exposed to. And it's like, yeah, of course there's going to be right-wing reactionary totalitarianism when you have those kind of shows, when you have those kind of story hours. I'm not going to get too descriptive here because I'm worried this video could get taken down if I do, but things that are perverted and exposing that to children, it's only calling for this. And it's only calling for Nick Fuentes to gain more and more power, more and more prestige, more and more influence when you say, hey, if you're Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, people that have been totally rejected for their terrible beliefs, rightly so, for all the foreign policy disasters that they've steered America into and they've propagated, for them to say, don't listen to this guy, is an automatic draw for this guy. This guy happens to be Nick Fuentes right now. So yeah, Americans have rejected the Israel first argument. It is dead. It's effectively dead. And it's one of the only sources of hope that I see in our political system. When I should say it hasn't really manifested in the political system yet. I should say in the culture in general. It's a total white pill. It's a source of hope that maybe in 10 years, AIPAC is going to basically completely lose its influence. I don't think that's an insane scenario at the current trajectory. Yeah, there will be moneyed interest behind it. There will always be that billionaire Zionist donor class like Larry Ellison and Andreessen Horowitz and, Bill Ackman and those guys trying to back this thing. But when Americans have rejected it so fiercely as they have, and, sympathy toward the Palestinians gaining 50 percentage points since October 7, they have a big, big hole to dig themselves out of. And I don't think they can do it. And Tucker Carlson has defended the best merits of journalism and the best arguments to oppose the censorship regime. When it comes to speech you don't like, the best solution isn't ever more censorship. It's more speech. Counter that speech. And if Nick Fuentes' ideas are so terrible, so backward, so insane and so anti-Semitic, that should be low-hanging fruit, Ben Shapiro, for you to debate against, for you to wreck. But I don't think you have the guts. I don't think you have the courage to debate Nick Fuentes, or frankly, Dave Smith, or any other prominent critic of Israel. I just don't. And Americans see that follow these things and realize, well, the jig is up. We're not going back to this Israel first mentality. No, never again, no matter what party calls for it, no matter who's in power. And that's something that dissidents on the left and right can unite behind. But I do want to hear from you. Is Tucker Carlson right? Is the Israel first argument dead? Is he right in how he talks about censorship and the right solution to getting to the bottom of controversial issues and talking to controversial people? Let me know in the comments down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Also subscribe to Sean Ryan. Thanks for this interview. Great segment, Sean. People have said that I sound like Sean Ryan in my comment section, and I don't hear that, but a lot of people have commented that. That's weird to me. I guess he lives in Nashville. I've never met him, but interestingly enough. Also, if you like this video, please consider joining the channel as a member. You can do that by clicking the join button below. And if you do that, you can help support my channel, which I'll really appreciate if you go to that link to support me. But if you do, I will give you access to all my videos before they go live to the general public on YouTube. So you'll be able to see those members-only videos on my channel page before anyone else and before they're released to the general public. Also, if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, click the link in the description below. It'll shoot you off to a site. You can plug in your email. I'll send that directly to you. Totally free, no charge. I'll give it to you in PDF form. Yours to keep just for watching the channel. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.